there. Ever just admire a stunning gemstone? Maybe set in a ring or a necklace sparkling away.
Oh, absolutely.
And often you might think, maybe that's a topaz. They can be gorgeous. But if you're really into jewelry, like us, you pretty quickly get to the big question.
Is it actually real topaz?
Exactly. Is it the real deal?
Yeah, the world of gemstones. Well, it can be tricky. Telling a genuine stone from, say, an imitation or even one that's been treated, that's really key. And that's pretty much our mission for this deep dive. We've been digging into this guide, one written specifically for jewelry enthusiasts, all about identifying genuine topaz.
Right.
And we're here to basically pull out the most important bits of knowledge from that source just for you.
Okay, let's get into it. So the guide kicks things off with the core characteristics, like what is topaz fundamentally? It's more than just pretty, right? It has these specific physical traits, fingerprints almost.
That's a great way to put it, fingerprints. And the first big one the guide highlights is hardness.
Hardness, okay.
Right, so topaz clocks in at 8 on the Mohs hardness scale. Now, why that number matters? It's not just the 8 itself. It tells you a lot about durability and even helps identification.
And 8 is pretty high up there, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's quite hard. It means, for instance, that everyday dust, which is mostly quartz, hardness 7, generally won't scratch it. So seeing resistance to minor scratches, that's a potentially good sign.
Okay, so it's durable. Good to know. What else does the guide mention? Something about its structure.
It does, yeah. Topaz has a very specific crystal structure.
Yeah.
And critically important, it has what's called perfect cleavage in one direction.
Cleavage.
Think of it like wood grain. You know how wood splits easily along the grain?
Oh, right. Okay.
It's similar.
Yeah.
For topaz, this means even though it's hard, if it gets a sharp knock from just the wrong angle, it can actually chip or break quite cleanly along these internal planes.
Ah, so it's hard, but potentially fragile in a specific way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a big deal for jewelers setting the stone and, something for you to keep in mind when wearing it. It's just part of its identity.
Interesting. And the colors, I usually picture blue topaz, but the guide mentioned a whole rainbow.
Oh, beautiful range. You get colorless, yellow, orange, brown, pink, blue, even green sometimes.
Wow.
But here's an interesting insight from the guide. While blue is super popular, commercially speaking, the naturally occurring colors that tend to be most valuable are often those really intense oranges like imperial topaz yellows and pinks.
Okay.
And this is a big but color alone. It's not a slam dunk for identification because of treatments.
Okay, we'll come back to treatments. That brings us to how light interacts with it. The guide mentioned optical properties, refractive index, and dispersion.
Yes, exactly. Think of these as like the stone's optical signature. Refractive index is basically how much light bends when it enters the stone. For topaz, it's a pretty tight range, 1.61 to 1.63. And dispersion is how much it splits white light into rainbow colors. It's fire. Topaz has relatively low dispersion compared to, say, diamond.
So less rainbow sparkle.
Generally, yes. Now, you might not notice this casually, but for a gemologist, these specific numbers are crucial tools to help tell topaz apart from other stones that might look similar but handle light differently.
Right. So we've got its hardness, its structural quirk with the cleavage, the color variety, and how light behaves inside it. But practically speaking, if you're holding a stone, how do you actually figure it out? The guide suggests some tests, but also warns about challenges.
Precisely. This is where it gets really practical. The guide does mention some common tests you might hear about. There's the scratch test, obviously related to that Mohs hardness of 8. There's the UV test, seeing how it fluoresces under ultraviolet light.
Yeah.
That can sometimes give clues about where it came from or if it's been treated. And a specific gravity test, which is about measuring its density.
Okay, tests exist. But the guides seem to really stress that these aren't foolproof, especially for, someone just looking at jewelry. Why not?
Well, the big reason is that topaz gets imitated a lot.
Like with what?
Oh, things like citrine, which is a type of quartz, or synthetic spinel, even just colored glass. Sometimes they can look very similar.
Yeah.
And then there's the issue we touched on, treatments.
Right, the treatments.
Yes. Topaz is very, very commonly treated, usually with heat or radiation. And the main goal is often to create or intensify colors, especially that popular blue color. Most blue topaz you see started out colorless or pale.
Whoa, okay, so that treatment obviously changes things.
Completely. It changes its appearance from its natural state, and that naturally affects the value discussion too.
So a blue stone that looks just like topaz. It might be treated topaz, which is common, or it could be something else entirely, like glass or spinel.
That's the crux of it, yes. Which leads to a really important point the guide makes very clear. How do you really know? How do you verify what you've got?
So what's the recommendation?
Given how common the lookalikes and the treatments are, the guide strongly recommends consulting a professional.
Meaning like a jeweler or...
Ideally, getting it checked by a qualified gemologist or a gemological laboratory. Or, at the very least, working with a really reputable dealer who truly knows their stuff. They have the specialized equipment and, frankly, the experience to run definitive tests and spot those treatments.
Right.
And the guide also points out that a professional appraisal isn't just about putting a price tag on it. A good appraisal report gives you the details, confirms the identity, notes any treatments detected, describes the quality. It's your proof.
Okay, so let's recap quickly. Genuine topaz. It definitely has unique markers. That's solid hardness, specific way it handles light, the cleavage thing. But actually identifying it for sure is tricky because there are so many lookalikes out there, and treatments, especially for color, are incredibly common.
Mm-hmm.
So while basic tests give hints, the guide really seems to say that for real certainty, professional verification is, well, pretty essential in today's market.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for you, as someone interested in jewelry, understanding all this complexity,
Mm-hmm.
it's powerful. It lets you look past just the sparkle and start asking the important questions.
Yeah, what really strikes me is just how prevalent those imitations and treatments are according to the guide. Knowing that, it makes you think, doesn't it? How does that knowledge maybe shift how you'd approach looking at, or maybe buying, a topaz? And thinking about the guide's advice, how essential does that professional check become for you personally to feel confident about what you truly have? Definitely something to mull over next time you're admiring a beautiful stone.